ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running Wild Podcast. I'm your co-host, Rich. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Runz.
Yes, sir.
We're brought to you in partnership with PWPonderings.com, ROHworld.com, Last Word on ProWrestling.com, and we're featured on the Wrestling to the Max network. All right, with all that out of the way, is this the rare unicorn of podcasts where we're not discussing a pay-per-view that happened or previewing a pay-per-view?
Yeah, it happens, every once in a while, but we should be good for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
This is pretty, because then we'll probably have, like the Evolve shows that'll be next weekend and things like that.
There's not even an ROH or nothing.
Yeah, so this is, this weekend, to be fair, the style battle is going on, but those are just shows that generally we'll talk about afterwards, but we don't usually preview beforehand. So it's just pretty crazy to think that this is actually happening. So we could talk about SummerSlam 1992 in detail.
Wondering if it was too early because it's August 1st, and I don't think it happens till September 1st, but I noticed I was on PWG, and I saw that the cards were released for Bola. So I didn't know if maybe you wanted to discuss that and maybe pick some winners out of that and kind of make up our own bracket for it.
Sure. This is Bola 2017. I just want to make
sure.
Just
go to ProWrestlingGorilla.com, and then it's on sale, and it shows both cards, and it'll be good because then I won't have to see if there's any title matches announced.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I actually looked it up on Wiki, and if you click on it, it'll bring you right.
It brings you all the cards.
2017, and it'll just show you the
bracket.
The bracket, so that you won't get spoiled.
Right.
If you want to take a look at it that way. So why don't you pull that up, and then we'll discuss that.
All right. So what did I have to do there? Wiki.
I just Googled Bola 2017 and then went that way. But while you're looking that up, what did you think of Raw this week?
What did I think of Raw? It's tough if I remembered what happened on Raw. I guess that pretty much says it all, right? I enjoyed the Brock Lesnar interaction. I thought that Heyman was going to campaign for a elimination match, which I thought would have been cool, and then Brock could have actually lost. But instead, we got the tease of if he loses, he's going to leave. So I'm guessing we're supposed to buy into that with all the Jon Jones talk and the UFC hype. But that kind of makes me feel like he might win.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I don't love when stipulations like that are added, but then again, I mean,
if it could work for anyone, it's Brock, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking back to Undertaker Shane and how much I took into account what they were saying, and then it really ended up meaning nothing, right? So
it meant absolutely nothing. Like the next day, he was there, and he was just back as the GM.
Like it would just be funny if Brock loses, right, and then comes out of Raw the next night, and he's like, "Fuck you guys! I have unfinished business." You know
what? They just signed me to a $5 million contract. I'm here. Never mind.
I mean, is there any way that he legit does leave so that he could do the Jones thing, or is that just talk?
1,000%. I think if there's a way to make that happen, and I feel like there is a pretty easy one, I think it happens. It's a fight that, as a UFC fan, I would love to see. It's a fight as a WWE fan I would love to see, and it'd be a cool matchup. So I think that would be a big draw and a lot of money for UFC and for both of them. So as long as Brock can get cleared of whatever, I can't see a reason why not.
And they're very different weight classes, right?
Heavyweight, light heavyweight. So Jones is 40 pounds lighter than Brock. I don't know if you or anyone missed after his fight. He said, Brock, if you want to know what it's like to get your ass whooped by guy who's 40 pounds less than you, come see me in the octagon. So Brock responded, careful what you wish for, and
young man.
Seems like
young man.
Yeah, careful what you wish for, young man. So I don't know, man. Like the thought of it got me hyped, and then to see they're both kind of addressing it publicly gets me a little more hyped. It's something I would definitely love to see.
Yeah, it really does make me think that he does drop the strap at SummerSlam, though.
It would make sense, because then if they can get a fight in the next couple of months, he would train and need to be off steroids and all that sort of thing. So it would make sense.
Well, he wasn't really
and I mean,
off last
they
time.
have the out, right? But I mean, maybe he drops the strap and he's gone for 4 months, and then he's just back for WrestleMania. So
I mean, it doesn't really change. I mean, that's been his schedule as of late. Anyhow,
right. Exactly, especially if he's not the champion. So go ahead, go fight in UFC, and we'll see you after. But I think I mentioned it last week or the week before. After this stuff, like, what is there for him to do? Who else is a legit competitor for him? So I think that's a position that maybe they recognize, hey, we're paying this guy $1 million or $2 million to be there for 10 days a year. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe we bring him in for that one run. Maybe we bring him in for that one match. I don't know. Like, after he faces Joe, maybe he faces Braun one-on-one. Maybe he faces Roman again. Then what? AJ, not AJ is the best in the world, but I don't know that he's believable to beat Brock, right? Rollins, kind of the same thing. He's been in there with him, but there's a big size difference, and the way Brock has been built ever since that. I don't know.
Could be Elias.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Not Elias Sampson, just Elias.
Elias no Sampson, yeah.
He has no last name anymore.
Nope.
I just don't understand that. It makes me so super frustrated.
Vince hates last names, man.
It's just kind of ridiculous. All right. And then
I just laughed again thinking about the Hardys being woken.
Oh, that's I mean, that's their way around it.
It's the best.
Erase.
I guess, like,
do you change
TNA's
do you change delete?
Shit got
like, can you change delete? Like, how does that work? Like, legit, I want to know how that works.
Can they just say, like, deletion, or, like, I don't know. Maybe they say, I don't know.
I hope instead of erase they go backspace. That'd be just to, like, there's another button on your keyboard that you can press to get rid of you.
Jeff Hardy will say Control Alt, and then Matt Hardy will say Delete. I don't know, something.
He'll
figure a way out of it.
That is bringing my love of technology and wrestling together. It would be one of the best things that I think I could ever see. I don't know. I'm happy, obviously, that hopefully is a thing again, because I mean,
yeah, it'd be great.
It was so successful that it's just kind of ridiculous that it's something that we haven't been able to see. I'm trying to think what else.
I mean, it definitely looks like we're going with Sheamus and Cesaro and Rollins and Ambrose for the tag titles, unless something comes to a halt there real quick and it turns into Ambrose and Rollins at SummerSlam. But it's looking, to me at least, like it's going to be the Bar against 2/3 of the Shield.
I mean, I think what they could do very easily is at SummerSlam do the tag team title match, and then have Ambrose do what was it that Jericho did to AJ, right? Didn't they start off like immediately as tag team?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe they have a tag title match next week on Raw, and Rollins hits Ambrose, and then it just kind of goes from there, or something like, but at the moment, it seems like that's what's building up towards SummerSlam. But then you have the Hardys, the Revival, and the Club. Do they just have a triple threat tag team match, like, for the number one contenders or something? But it's a long time till SummerSlam, so... Do you
think the Hardys officially on TV get woken before SummerSlam?
It appears to be that way, yeah.
Like, are they gonna walk into Brooklyn just to the ring woken? Because that would be huge. I mean, I think the crowd will, especially in Brooklyn. Well, I mean, anywhere would really get a big pop.
Summerslam,
But I think the smarkier, right, like fans from Brooklyn would definitely, I think, huge
forget
pop.
about Brooklyn. Like, just think about Manhattan Mayhem when they showed up, right? And it was insane. So you have to suspect something similar. But who knows if it'll happen before then or at then?
Like, I'm trying to think. Like, you were there, right? The Cena return at Royal Rumble. No.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
With a sign that said, "Thank God Cena isn't here."
Yeah. So, I mean, that the Hardys, I think, was a bigger surprise to me live than I'd ever seen, other than Cena being there that one time.
That John Cena one, I don't think will ever go away. As it was supposed to be the big show. Like, we knew it was the big show, and like we were just waiting for the music to hit and be like, oh, okay, whatever. But no.
I mean,
it was John Cena. I can't stress this enough. I had a sign that said, "Thank God John Cena is not here." And then there he was. Man. Whew. That was a great moment. Terrible. Like, I was so angry, but it was, wow. Looking back, it makes me laugh, So thanks. It was great.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, in the moment I was very, very angry, but that was a moment in wrestling history. Whether, I mean, I'm sure that people were angry. People were angry in the crowd when, Hogan turned at Bash at the Beach. People were throwing garbage at him.
Yeah, all the plants were throwing garbage, right?
Wait, you don't think that anybody... Come on. You don't think that anybody was throwing garbage, like, legit?
At some point, probably, but I know for a fact that... Well, I don't know for a fact, but I know there was plants and all that.
It was in Daytona Beach, Florida. I don't think there were as many plants as you think there were.
All right.
I think people legitimately started throwing garbage. I don't know. I'll believe what I like to believe. All right.
Yeah, no problem. Still real to you.
So I'm looking at Raw. The results. I mean, we have Big Show.
I mean, we talked about Cena. We might as well
show versus Cass
into meh. Who cares? Into SmackDown and discuss that. Yes, Shinsuke Nakamura defeated John Cena and is the number one contender, and we'll get to that in a second. But I legitimately could not enjoy it because I thought that John Cena's neck was broken right behind Shinsuke. And it was like, I was just kind of in shock where, like, it happened and I saw it and I was like, holy shit. And I just kind of sat there, like, frozen. And I watched this later. So I didn't read anything, I didn't see anything, and it was just like, holy shit, man. So hopefully, thankfully, he's all right, and everything is good. But man, that was a scary looking drop.
That was really that really was frightening. I mean, and you would think, when's the last time? I can't remember the last time I saw a Cena take a bump where I was legit concerned. Right? I mean, he's a pretty safe worker. I mean, he'll bump for someone. It's not that he doesn't.
The last one I can remember just in WWE period was Cesaro when he did the dive and came down straight on his neck. And he said, like, he was on a podcast, I think Jericho's, and he was like, yeah, and that was the last time I ever did that dive. I think it was Jericho. It was like, yo, you're too big to be doing that shit, man. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm done. And hasn't done it since, so... it's WWE does a good job of, keeping those moments to a limited basis, thankfully and luckily. But who's to say who's at fault? It's a shitty situation, and thank God everyone's all right.
Yeah. Now, what's almost kind of crazier coming out of that is Nakamura beat Cena clean, and it's gonna. I mean, there's no way that Nakamura and Mahal is the main event of SummerSlam.
Well, we discussed this. Okay, hold on one second. Well, we discussed this last week when we were talking about this match, but it made no sense for them to feed Nakamura to Cena to get to Jinder. Like it was too like in your face internet, like a thing to do. But now Nakamura beats Cena. The kids realize he's good. People who don't know Nakamura was like, oh, okay, this guy's must be pretty good, right? He beat Cena clean, no problem. And now he can go on. I'm telling you, Baron Corbin is just going to cash in at SummerSlam. I just think that's what happens.
So Knox going to win, and then Corbin's going to cash in.
It just makes sense to me. I hope they don't. I hope they give him the moment and at least let him be the champion, because that would, if they do that, I think that would really deflate the crowd. But no, of course this isn't your main event. Your main event is Brock and Joe and Roman and Braun. That's your main event. So this could be the first match. It could be the second to last. It could be anywhere on the card. But man, I'm looking forward to it, because the thought of Nakamura as the WWE champion, not the Universal, no, the WWE champion, is a pretty cool thought.
Any chance that at the end of the night at the end of SummerSlam, we have Akira Tozawa as the Cruiserweight champion, Nakamura as the WWE champion, Asuka as the NXT Women's champion? I mean, it's... No?
No. Asuka's losing to Ember Moon. But Nakamura, yes. Tozawa, I don't know. Like, just let Neville be the champion forever. I don't even I don't care about the cruiserweights anymore. It's just they've lost me.
Tozawa's been fun though. Well, a little bit more because of Titus.
Right, he's been fun because Titus is great in this role, and I think that's what's doing it. Did you see? There was a report the other day how they might start sending some guys back to NXT.
No.
And one of them was like, oh, duh, Apollo Crews. Like, send him to NXT, let him be a star in NXT rather than not being used on Raw. And they said Dana Brooke, Kurt Hawkins, which, I mean, that sucks. But at least he would be, like, dope there. Apollo, I think maybe Sin Cara and Kalisto. Like, people who just aren't really used and who would be in a better position on NXT. I don't, with the way that NXT is being built and touring around, I don't know how much of a step back that is. You get to work for Triple H and not Vince. I don't know.
I don't think it's a step back at all. I think that, unlike 205 Live, where they're filming them, I think it makes a big difference. Think about how different 205 Live would be if it was just full scale. Full sale.
Yeah, why don't they just use the cruiserweights with NXT? Like, make them a part of the NXT brand. Yeah, maybe you don't have Neville, but you could always put Neville there. Who cares? But if Neville reaches a level where he's just too good for them, which he's not that far off from, then you can have Apollo Crews, or you can have Kalisto or TJP or Gulak. You can have any of those guys as your Cruiserweight champion, or you can have people in NXT, or you can have Velveteen Dream. I don't know how much he weighs, but you can do anything. I think it makes so much more sense, especially if you sign a Cruiserweight, then you're not gonna is he just gonna go to Raw, or is he gonna be part of NXT and then Raw?
Well, that's why I actually read an article on Deadspin. Well, yeah, but the article was talking about how one of the reasons why the Cruiserweights doesn't work and how it hasn't worked in WWE. And what I thought was interesting was the article brought up how in WCW you had guys who were Cruiserweights in the cruiserweight division, but then you also had them outside the division. All right, so like Benoit, for example, was a cruiserweight technically by weight.
But now, also, let's look at this from a reality perspective. WCW, the cruiserweights, consisted of Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Conan in his prime, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera. Like, those guys,
Silver King.
These guys are not El Dandy. These guys are not, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko.
Who the fuck are you to question El Dandy? No, I get you.
I just, let's look at that.
But did we know that then? You know what I'm saying? If you make them part of NXT, let's say
you knew Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. You knew those guys were great. Like it just, you could see it. Jericho. You could see it with those guys. But you're right. WCW presented them a little better. They hyped them up a little bit more. And then guys like Jericho, Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, etc., moved on from that. But I don't know when and if that happens with WWE. They changed the ropes and they put the stupid lighting and all that stuff, but that doesn't do them any favors. There's been a little more crossover with Titus, and they had the women, but it didn't work. So you're 1,000% nail on the head with where they're taping it and when they're taping it. And I don't understand why these guys aren't on NXT. And okay, hey, we need you on Raw. Yeah, no problem. You're flying out there Monday, Tuesday. NXT is not on TV Monday or Tuesday. You can do that. I don't get it.
Yeah, because the arenas where they, we've talked about this before. They tape it. They tape it at the end of SmackDown.
Right. So what if they just made NXT 2 hours or an hour and a half?
Well, that's what it should be, right?
90 minutes.
Make NXT 90 minutes and include the cruiserweights there, so that guys can wrestle for the cruiserweight title, but then also wrestle in the other divisions in NXT.
Yeah.
And you would just not have guys like the Heavy Machinery wrestling for the cruiserweight title.
Right. And you can have a Tozawa against Hero, and you can have Tozawa against Itami, and Neville against all these guys. They're on a much more even level than they're presented on Raw or SmackDown. It just... And then, not to mention, they're on 205 Live after SmackDown. Why are they on fucking SmackDown? I don't... All of it makes zero sense to me. Yeah, they have the most time on Raw, so they're there because they're going to get some time, actually. But then figure out a way to do it differently. Put them on NXT. It would be so much better.
Well, you and I are in agreement there, but I don't think, for one reason or another, that's not going to happen.
I think it'll happen when they cancel 205 Live. When they're just like, okay, nobody's watching 205 Live. Let's just dial this back a step. And then I think Triple H will be able to be like, yo, just let me take these guys on NXT. We can expand. We need a little more. We need touring talent. We need this. We need that. I think that'll work.
All we need to do is find a way to get WWE to change it to 210 Live. When they realize it doesn't rhyme anymore, they'll stop airing it live. Because I think just like Vince was like, 205 Live, that's got a nice ring to it, and had to do it live. It's just, ugh.
It really makes no sense. Like, just have them do a tournament again every summer. Like, do something that's gonna give these guys some attention. Give them a pay-per-view. Like, you need to do something with them. Well, that makes no sense to me. Why can't 205 Live have a pay-per-view? I don't. Nobody would. I would watch that. I watch takeovers. I would watch the 205 Live takeover.
Right now, would you?
Yes.
Now.
I don't care anything what's going on 205 Live. I would watch the 205 Live takeover.
Okay. I mean, you don't, but I'm surprised that you said you would watch the pay-per-view if you don't ever watch 205 Live.
You want me to respond to that? I'm not sure. Are you going to watch SummerSlam when you don't watch Smackdown or Raw? I don't.
You son of a bitch. All right.
Like, I get what you're saying. It doesn't matter, man. Like, if it's presented as a pay-per-view or an event, whatever the hell they call it on the network, and there's going to be a title match, and there's this grudge match between Tozawa and Daivari, and Gulak is wrestling Nice, and TJP is doing something. Yes, I would absolutely watch it, because that means their storylines are worth, this thing, and they've built it up to have this pay-per-view. I will 1,000% watch it. Even one every 2 months, one every 3 months. Do something, because all you're getting on a Raw pay-per-view is Neville against someone, and that's it.
Yeah. No.
Usually the same person, because he's fought TJP, Aries, and now Tozawa for 7 months.
Imagine he loses it to Tozawa.
Like you said, Tozawa's been entertaining with this whole Titus thing, and maybe they're a little bit behind that, but man, that would be weird. The guy, I was watching PWG the other day, and this gentleman was wrestling, and I was like, where the fuck is Cedric Alexander? That's the guy who should be beating Neville. That's the guy who should be promoted as this babyface. That dude is awesome. You have the NXT, the Cruiserweight Classic moment where the crowd's chanting, "Please sign Cedric," and you have Triple H holding up his arm. That's the guy that should be the face beating Neville. Yes, I know he was hurt, but now he's back.
Yeah, and he wasn't even on... I don't believe he was on TV this week.
He tagged with Tozawa on Raw, I think.
Oh, okay, on Raw. Yeah,
and I was like, oh man, maybe Titus will get behind Cedric, and that Cedric Alexander is the guy who should be next up to hold that belt.
He's been the guy that I was pulling him for him to do really well in the tournament. I think it's the time that hopefully they start building him up after SummerSlam and position him, further up the Cruiserweight card.
I guess he would be in a better spot had he not gotten injured, but, I don't know. Now that he's back, let's find something for him.
Completely agreed. All right, let's see what else is going on. SmackDown.
You had the Owens and AJ.
Yeah.
Right? We discussed that off air, right? When Mike Chioda was blinded, counted Kevin Owens down, even though very clearly his shoulder was up. And, so then Owens confronted Shane and Bryan. They made Shane the referee for SummerSlam, and that'll obviously, one way or another, continue to build up Shane against Kevin Owens for, I'm guessing, WrestleMania, because that's when Shane wrestles.
Yeah. Wait, you think that there's something's going to come of Shane being the special guest referee? It's not just... He's just going to be the referee. What do you think? What do you think could happen here? I don't... I love Kevin Owens, and maybe I pay more attention to this stuff, but one of my friends mentioned the other day, they were like, oh, you think they're building to KO versus Shane? And I was like, yo, they've been building to KO versus Shane since Shane was the Raw GM. Like, they had beef then. That's why, he didn't pick him to go to SmackDown, because of his attitude and that kind of stuff. And then now it's only continued to get bigger on SmackDown. Yes, but they were building to that. People thought maybe for last year's WrestleMania. So they have such a nice amount of history here, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm not a super huge fan, and I guess I think I felt the same way when AJ was facing Shane. It's just, why do we need Shane there?
Yeah, but I always enjoy when he wrestles. You didn't enjoy him against AJ last year? I thought it was the best match on the show.
No, it was. But you have so much talent.
But, like, it's such a good position to be in. Like, I'd rather see Kevin Owens against Shane than anyone else on the roster, really. Like, other than Nakamura. Like, he's fought AJ a bunch. So, who else would you rather see Kevin Owens face at WrestleMania to have that moment, that big match? I don't think there's anyone.
All right. I mean, that's...
Which, but I guess that says what it needs to about SmackDown, or just WWE in general, but that's what's up.
Yeah, I guess that's really my thing, like, it's kind of ridiculous that the 50-something-year-old son of the owner of the company is one of the best bets to have a great match.
See, but you say that like it's a bad thing. Like, yes, okay, he's Vince's son, but he's earned his spot there. Like, he's earned some goodwill with his matches and the bumps and everything like that.
Yeah, it's nothing. I'm not presenting it as it's terrible because actually Shane has earned it. But I'm just saying, if you put that down on paper, that the largest wrestling company in the world, right, like one of their biggest matches will end up being with basically what amounts to being someone who's a non-wrestler or definitely part-time.
I think, see, like the part-time thing, whatever, it doesn't bother me. It's WrestleMania. Like you need the big names, but that's where I think the difference is with like a wrestling fan and people who don't know or watch wrestling. Because, like you said, if you put that on paper, if there's an article that's the 50-year-old son of the owner is the main event of WrestleMania, yeah, that doesn't look good to people who are just not fans or casual fans, But for people who know, we know it's bigger and better than that.
True. Okay. I hope that doesn't mean my boy Sammy is down further on the card.
Oh, well, speaking of Sami Zayn, he had a great matchup this week on SmackDown, right? You recall that?
I can't believe that Aiden English won.
Aiden English couldn't believe it either. It was pretty funny. He caught him with a roll-up, and it was just like, what the... So, I'm sure Sammy will get his win back.
I just can't believe that Aiden English beat Ty Dillinger at the last pay-per-view, and then he beat...
How did that go? Did we ever predict that one? I don't recall.
If you go back to last week's episode, you can clearly hear you say...
the edited together clip, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to Dillinger win this one. Some of my best work. I mean, best work in just going through the archives to find what I needed. That's all. Because it was all there.
Okay. Yeah, so I was pretty surprised. Obviously, everyone else was too. But hey, that's a good thing. Get a guy who needs some wins a win, and it continues. Bennett, Kanellis and Kanellis came out afterwards and said, "We'd love that you just lost," and that was the end of that. Which I was just kind of like, "Oh well, that was a waste," but whatever. I guess it continues the story, so whatever.
Yeah, I just can't believe that Aiden English right now has more wins than Michael Kanellis. Like that's bonkers.
Probably has the same amount of wins as like Sami Zayn does in what, like 6 months or something.
So angry. I'm just trying not to go crazy here. All right. And then after SmackDown, well, no, you had Rusev and Gable, right? And Rusev goes over Gable. I thought that was a good.
Yeah.
Like the clips I saw, I thought it were pretty good.
It was a good match, and it, there were times when Gable had it and he thought he was going to win, and it was really weird that he was doing the ankle lock. It was kind of strange. It was like, oh, he's going to come out like, no, it wasn't Jason. It was really me, who's your son, Kurt. So that was a little off. But he still had the American Alpha music, so I guess that's his now. Because Jordan had new music on Raw. Oh, we'll talk about that in a second, too. But yeah, it was a good match. It did what it needed to do for Gable and helped Rusev. And then Orton came out, and it seems like it'll be Orton and Rusev at SummerSlam, which, as long as Rusev wins, I'm fine with that.
Which would mean that Randy Orton loses 4 pay-per-views in a row. That's
Jinder
nuts.
Mahal and Rusev.
That is...
Remember when Jinder Mahal and Rusev were like a team, and everyone was like, "Oh man, why the hell is Jinder with Rusev?" Oof.
Rusev is... I'm actually looking forward to this because I want to see the crazy stuff he says. Did you know that when Shane's helicopter went down...
Yes, I think I said this on the podcast last week. Continue.
Right? I mean, this dude straight up
You don't
says...
answer my phone calls, your helicopter falls.
That's what you get, Shane McMahon? Like, I know that it's kayfabe, but the idea, just for half a second, believing that a guy would at his boss's son on Twitter, and be
at
like,
his boss, really,
right?
too.
Yeah, at his boss. I'm happy that you almost died and you deserve it because you didn't answer my phone calls. Imagine you sent a message to your AP on Twitter and said that.
It makes it better, like, that he's Russian, and so, like, the accent that I always picture and the way he says things, it just makes it sound so much more evil, and, like, oh, man, it's great. I will remind me to tell you a story off air about something similar, I guess.
This is very exciting. All right, let me try to think. So that's really most of SmackDown and Raw. I mean... The Usos mocked
that was really
Day was, and then afterwards on the WWE Network, Shinsuke was apparently getting attacked by Baron, and Cena came out to help him. So,
yes,
I wonder if that
similar scene at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I wonder if Cena stops Corbin from cashing in.
Yeah, right. Maybe that'll be a match at SummerSlam. Cena and Corbin. That's fine. I can deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, then I'm definitely rooting for Cena there.
Oof.
I don't
I like Baron Corbin.
I don't know. All right, let's switch over to. You want to look at the brackets now for Bola?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, so right before that, I just mentioned. Then totally forgot. Seems like maybe, possibly, hopefully, probably, Jason Jordan and The Miz at SummerSlam for the IC title.
I like that. I think
that's a great place to start.
I'm not super into Jordan just yet, but you got to get there somehow. And working with Miz, I think it'll make it really easy.
Yeah.
Although,
on Raw it was so much better than last week. His reaction.
We're still gonna get, though. I think we're still gonna get something from this whole Jordan thing. I don't think he's truly just straight baby.
Kurt Angle's son. Okay.
Something.
See, like, I thought maybe they would go that way, but then having him with The Miz kind of puts that backwards.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where sometimes, secret heels get a little longer to be exposed. I'm trying to think of,
all right.
Almost like, not exactly, right? But when Trish turned on Jericho, Jericho seemed to be the bad guy and he was taking advantage of Trish. And then she ends up with Christian and kicks Jericho in the nuts.
Well, that's just women. I mean.
Oh, yes.
Just kidding.
Our female audience just dropped by 2.
Oh, damn, that's probably all of them.
No, that's probably all of them, so sorry. Please don't go. All right, so let's look at this these Bola brackets. So, you got Brian Cage versus Desmond Xavier. Wow, it's
interesting. Interesting match because Xavier has been on the last couple of PWG shows, and it kind of, it seems to me sometimes that when guys have that first match at PWG and he wrestled someone else who was their first time, Shane Strickland, and they just, they did 700 flips that even I was like, come on. that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So like they tried a little too hard to be PWG, but then they've been better afterwards. So he's been on TNA or GFW recently, Desmond Xavier, but I still think Cage will get the win.
Yeah, me too. I think that Cage has kind of had more. I just think it's going to kind of be the story of a big muscle guy versus smaller guy, and I think Xavier will try as best as much as possible to the best of his ability, but I think you'll see Cage come out there. I don't know TK Cooper that well, but I have seen Sammy Guevara. I could see him moving forward, and then you would continue this idea of Cage having to crush little guys.
Yeah, I wonder, how accurate the brackets are, because I'm not really sure that there even is such a bracket. I think they kind of just more match it up to whoever would be better off facing each other, kind of a thing, in my mind. But so, I mean, when we get to the end of this little 8 set of 8, we'll talk about the next round. But I think Cage moves on from the first one, and then I don't, like you said, I'm not familiar with Cooper either, so I'm just going to say he wins because I don't really like Sammy Guevara.
Fair. You had the Battle of the Rays, Phoenix versus Horus.
Like that's the only reason why they did that. There's no other way.
I feel like I would love to see them right as they're about to go, like start their match. Rey Mysterio shows up and he's the guest referee. He's like, "Listen, guys, if you guys are doing a Battle of the Rays, how can you do that without the Rey Mysterio here? Booyaka, booyaka!" And then he just becomes special. That's all right. I'm getting some debate. So we have live fans listening to the show.
Audience.
Yeah, studio audience this week, and or it's just my wife, but doesn't think that Rey Mysterio sounds that way. I feel like after the show, it's pretty accurate. I think I'm gonna have to play. I'm gonna have to play a clip later on, and as we all know, my son was born on Rey Mysterio's birthday, so it's something that inextricably links my family to Rey Mysterio. But I would pick Phoenix here.
Yeah, I completely agree. One half of the tag champs. I think he has a pretty strong showing in this tournament.
Then you have Dijak versus Trevor Lee. Yeah. That's
a tough one.
Yeah, because also, the reports that Dijak is going to NXT.
This is actually his last show.
Yeah, so I don't know if you need him. I don't know if you need him to go over here. I think you want Trevor Lee, somebody who's going to be coming back, as opposed to Dijak.
Yeah, and they've Trevor Lee is one of their bigger stars in PWG. He's great there. So I think he gets the win with a roll-up or a small package like he normally does. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Dijak win in advance. But I think he fits in perfectly with the 5-man tag teams that they have, like the next day where they do the slow motion and all that kind of stuff. So I think Trevor Lee goes over here.
Oh, I hope they do another slow motion.
Oh, they will.
Then you've got Flash.
So,
sorry.
I guess, yeah. Well, keep going through the first round.
All right, I see what you're saying, though. Like, because of the way we're looking at these brackets, just to make clear, and so you guys can pull it up if you're listening at home, you get a chance to pull it up on your computer. The way that it is presented right now on Wikipedia, those 4 matches that we just discussed, lead to a semifinal match. So if this is accurate, I mean, you would, from what we spoke about, we'd have Cage and either Cooper or Guevara.
If the bracket is accurate, it kind of makes me feel like Xavier wins, and then it's like Xavier and Guevara or Xavier and Cooper, and they're much more balanced, But to have Xavier or Cooper or Guevara in the quarterfinals would be pretty interesting.
See, because then I looking at these brackets, I could see easily Rey Phoenix being the small guy to beat Cage in the semis.
Yes, or I could see Lee against Cage at some point.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah. All right.
I don't know. Lee against Phoenix would be a great second round matchup. But I guess we can just after we go through the first round, we'll just, I guess, kind of pick some guys who we think are going to advance further on, and kind of go like that.
All right. You got Flash Morgan Webster versus Marty Scurll. I think, to me, this might be fanboying a little bit, but I'm going with Scurll.
I agree, but at some point, one of these stars has to get upset. Like, it's
so
something
weird.
that happens. So I think this could be one of those moments where, like, Scurll just gets too cocky and then he gets caught. I'm not familiar with Flash Morgan Webster, but I feel like he's from Britain. So maybe they're cool, maybe they're close, maybe that's, a reason why they're competing.
That's not a bad idea. I'm going to look into that as we're going along. So the next match we have is Cobb versus Callahan. This is one of those matches where, I think it's tough to call here in the first round. I don't know. I mean, Callahan's everywhere right now.
Yeah, but I don't think he needs the win. I think it pushes Cobb further up the PWG ladder with the win and a nice showing in this tournament.
Okay.
If the brackets are accurate, and if he faces the Scurll Flash Morgan winner, I'm thinking Cobb makes it to the quarterfinals. Ooh.
Wow.
Okay, let's continue to go down this, because if this is, like we said, again, if this section is accurate, this could be a very nice quarterfinal. So next up we have Seidel and Penta El Cero M.
I go with Penta here.
Yeah,
I
completely.
mean, nothing against Seidel, but I just feel
Everything
like
against
Penta.
Seidel.
I feel like
he's not winning.
Penta's half of the tag team champions.
I think I agree with you. Penta wins that one.
Quote of the century.
Riddle against Elgin, which that'll be a nice first round match.
Yeah, I don't know what to call this one. I mean, I guess I go Riddle here.
The fan in me is going to say Riddle, but it wouldn't shock me to see Elgin get the win. But I'm going to say Riddle, strictly for the fact that I want it to be the battle of the Chosen Bros in the quarterfinals between Jeff Cobb and Matt Riddle.
Oh yeah, because then Riddle could take on Penta, maybe go over there. Cobb beats whoever, and then Cobb versus Riddle. I like that. All right, the next set of brackets
which would mean that Jeff Cobb or Ricochet or Matt Riddle will be in the finals, and that would be pretty sweet.
Wow, that would be pretty crazy. Then you have Jonah Rock, who I'm not very familiar with him, versus Zack Sabre Jr., but I mean, I'm going to go with Zack Sabre Jr. here.
Yeah, I like we said, this is a month away, so I haven't necessarily done my due diligence on some of these participants yet, but I will. And so for now, yeah, I'm going to completely agree with you. I'm going to go with Zack Sabre.
Then you have Dennis Haskins versus Lloyd Banks. Oh wait, no, that's the guy from Saved by the Bell, and that's the rapper.
That match. Woof. I think it'd be a little bit one-sided, but it would be a lot of fun to build up.
I think it would be On Fire. Isn't that one of his songs? I'm not sure. Anyway, Mark Haskins versus Travis Banks. Who do you think goes over here? I feel like I'm leaning towards Mark Haskins.
Yes, I really. I'm actually watching last year's Battle of Los Angeles because my cable was out the other day and whatever, so it started me down a long road. So I've just been watching all the PWG shows, and Haskins has been on a couple, and I really like that guy. I like his look. I like the way he performs in the ring, and I've seen a couple of Travis Banks matches, but I think Haskins gets the win here.
I agree. Then you have Flamita versus Ricochet,
which should be outrageous, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be outrageous. I'm gonna go with Ricochet just because, again, I know him a little bit more than Flamita, and I'm just kind of a pretty big fan.
And this
of Ricochet.
This is where, like, somebody like Cage or Skrull or Saber or Ricochet, like one of them has to lose. They've all been in huge names in the PWG rankings for a long time, and there's upsets in Bola. Like that's what makes Bola Bola. It's a lot of fun, and it's not always just the bigger names going over. Sometimes it's about the breakout stars and the next guy up. So it wouldn't shock me to see Ricochet lose here, but I think he picked up the win.
All right, I agree. And then the last one is Lee versus Walter. I've looked up a little bit more of Walter's work since his name was announced because I didn't know who he was at first.
Let me tell you this: not at all what I expected.
No,
didn't think he looked and performed that way. Was blown away.
So since I've seen that, this one's not as easy as I would have said it was earlier. If that makes sense.
Yes, Keith Lee is on the rise, especially in PWG, and I think this is going to be a breakout tournament for him. And I think he gets the win here, and it's an interesting matchup though, especially Walter's been a hot name on the scene recently, right? And he beat Riddle for the Progress Atlas title recently, so that's blown him up a little bit more, I guess. And it'll, like I said, Bola's always fun. It's full of there's upsets, there's crazy things that go on. So who the hell knows? But from our perspective, I'm gonna say Keith Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest here. Overall, I think I'd like to see Lee win it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so let's pick 6 guys that this can come down to for the semifinals. So regardless of whatever, we can go by this bracket. So I'm going to say it comes down to I would really like it to come down to Phoenix and Trevor Lee in the first one, but I guess I'll say Cage and Phoenix maybe.
Okay. Yep.
And then I'll say Cobb and Riddle, which probably will not happen. But I'm going to say honestly, Cobb and Riddle.
You've kind of sold me on that, so now I'm for that.
And then I'm going to say Keith Lee and Sabre.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, Trevor Lee, Cobb, and Keith Lee.
So I'm going to go with Phoenix, Cobb, and Lee. But
Phoenix is a good bet. It all depends on if this isn't the bracket, then it could be Skrull, Riddle, and anyone. It could be anyone. Really, if this is not, this is how the second round plays out. But so that's all up in the air. But for now, yeah, continue.
No, I could see though Riddle being in the. I could see Riddle being in the finals.
Yeah.
Right, instead of Cobb, and because they had that great match. Lee and Riddle had that fantastic match going on.
Lee and Riddle, Lee and Cobb, Cobb and Riddle, they all have some beef.
I mean, by the way, I'm looking up the tournament brackets, just on other pages. It seems that this is at least definitely the setup for how they do it. But I'm not
for the first round.
Yeah, I cannot, as of right now, confirm or deny whether or not.
I just don't ever remember watching Bola and seeing a bracket. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean you're completely right. So I can't say for sure myself.
It would be really strange to me unless Brian Cage loses in the first round to put Brian Cage in that bracket with all the small guys. I mean, unless it comes down to Cage and Dijak or something like that, which would be pretty crazy.
All the small guys. I'm really looking forward to
and
this.
And Mr. GMSI.
All right. So that was Bola. Do we have? I'm trying to
Who do you
think.
think wins it? You think Lee wins it? You said.
I think Lee wins.
I think he's up there. It's always unpredictable, but yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I really think this is kind of his moment.
And I mean, part of it is I think I just legitimately like Keith Lee's work in the ring,
Yeah.
and feel like he hasn't gotten. There are a lot of guys on there who have been successful, have gotten a title somewhere, right? Have somewhere or another have kind of been a little bit bigger. I think Lee's one guy on that list that has been like flirting with having a championship or kind of being more of a top guy somewhere, and that hasn't happened just yet. And I think this could be what does it.
Yeah, and I mean, you win Bola, and it means something. People take notice. It doesn't only mean something in PWG. Yes, Marty Scurll was on the verge anyway last year, and that's kind of part of why he won. But ever since he's won Bola, he's gone to another level. And whether that's because of Bola or just Marty Scurll in general being great, I think they're both a factor. So it's even watching last year's, it just reminds me like it's one of the most fun things to not pay any attention to and then actually watch because it's great.
Yeah, no, I think again, kudos to you for being able to do that. All right, so that was that. We don't have Ring of Honor had a Women of Honor special this week.
Oh, sweet.
They're kind of in their summer doldrums a little bit. So you had someone new. You had Chris Wolf, who it's weird. So Ring of Honor, the special last year, I believe. I feel like it featured Solo Darling, who wears a tail as part of her gimmick, and Chris Wolf came out, and she has like wolf fur on her boots, and actually has a tail as well. Really. There was this weird moment where Sumi Sakai throws her against the apron and then like takes the actual like apron cover and stuffs her between there and then pulls the tail and for a slight moment I felt like Wolf was selling like I'm in pain, and I'm like that's a fur tail. So that was my only I'm like that's a little weird.
CMLL style.
Oh, well, but okay, hold on. If you haven't seen it, please go to like Twitter and go and search for Kemonito, Kemonito, and he's this little, so as a midget wrestler in CMLL who wears a full fur gorilla costume, and. What did he got drop kicked off the apron?
Yeah, baseball slide drop kick.
Baseball slide drop kick, which then launched him into a shooting star press headbutt.
Yep.
But see, you called it a shooting star press headbutt.
I thought somersaulted.
Yeah, I just thought he just got hit with so much force.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the movement of that force resulted in a shooting star press headbutt.
Okay, because for a second
it was just like it was one of the funniest things because like it looks like he can't even move in that freaking costume. Like his arms are out to the side, and then he just gets launched. Oh man,
it's terrible. But it's have you ever seen?
Hey, we didn't book it.
No, if you've ever seen a very young toddler in a winter coat, like those those snowsuits. It's like,
the full pants and everything.
It's like they're just a star walking. It's the best. And I don't think I sent you this part, but earlier in that same match, I believe one of the reasons why he got hit was he just runs over and just like crotches a guy in the face. Like a guy's laying down and he just kind of like puts his nuts on the guy's face, just like meh. So. Those two gifts are gold. Just been really unbelievable. But anyway, back to the Women of Honor.
This is what you watch instead of.
Listen, here's what it is.
I don't know what there is.
I subscribed to CMLL's YouTube channel. Whenever it comes on, they send me an email. So usually I just put it on because I'm like, why not? And then I get lost in it. Again,
this is just it's sheer utter disappointment. Like I'm not sure how to respond. I'm not really sure where to go. I don't really know what to do anymore. It's kind of just.
So you're not excited about Sam Adonis versus Blue Panther in the hair versus hair match this Saturday night?
The only reason why I know who Sam Adonis is because he was on one of the Talking Shop episodes on Jericho's podcast when they were in Mexico. And he was hanging out. He said he was Michael Cole's brother. I'm not really sure how true that was or not. So, yeah.
I hope that's true.
He challenged Reptile, which is Luke Gallows in an insane Mexican voice. He challenged him to a hair versus mask match.
Oh, I'm not even coughing. I'm coughing because I'm laughing so hard. Yeah, but I'm excited. I'm kind of excited about that match. But
I mean, like that kind of stuff, like the hair versus hair, or that kind of stuff is always fun. But just in general.
Well, but this guy, hold on. To be fair, Sam Adonis waves an American flag that has a giant picture of Donald Trump on it, and Blue Panther's like, F this guy, we Mexicans are proud people, and I'm not going to let you embarrass us.
I mean, the fact that, like, they just, like, hey, let's use Donald Trump because obviously he hates Mexicans and this is going to piss off everyone.
Yes.
That's just
like he starts,
genius.
And like the Blue Panther starts cutting a promo, and he's like, he goes, I know you probably don't even understand what I'm saying to you right now. Even though Adonis does speak in Spanish. You know, but he might not catch all of it, so I don't know. Look, is all of it fantastic? No. But I'm just enjoying seeing like just the different style also. It's a very different product.
Yeah.
It's not like watching wrestling.
You've watched more CMLL than
G1
I don't like
than G1 tournament. 100%.
Than the G1, than PWG, than everything combined. Probably more than you watch SmackDown.
By the way, a big announcement. On our 100th episode, we're changing the name of the show from Running Wild Podcast to Corriendo Wajido, which is the Spanish translation, because we're just going to go full CMLL.
I just won't be on it anymore.
And by the way, we are just a mere 2 weeks away from our new custom theme, so get ready, guys.
Don't hold your breath.
But to wrap up Women of Honor, I think the biggest news that came out of it, one was, so Joe Koff was on commentary, which he's the CEO of ROH, so that was kind of crazy. And during the show, he said that the Women of Honor will start to appear on pay-per-views at some point, which is something they haven't done yet. So it's something that I've been kind of talking about for a while, that if you want to make it a little bit more legitimate, because if you look at the special, one thing that kind of is glaring is the crowd reaction. And part of it's that they're not, if you're not watching the Wednesday specials, the Wednesday YouTube content, you may not know who everybody is.
How many views did those get?
Excuse me?
How many views did those get?
Oh, that's a really great question. I'm
curious.
I'd have to. I'm going to look it up as we speak, but I'm trying to.
I completely agree with you that, and I've agreed with you the whole time that in order to make them more legitimate or make people who maybe aren't unaware that there's a Women of Honor or something like that they're here and they're legit and there's a title or there's this or there's that. They need that. They need to be on the pay-per-view. They need to be a featured part of, it doesn't have to be there. They don't have to be on every week since it's such a short show, but every 2 weeks there should be one women's match or something like that.
100%, because, I'll say that there was a Women of Honor match that was on the YouTube channel. They put it up 4 weeks ago. It got 22,000 views. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's that's a pretty decent number considering that some of even the throwback videos they have let's just, in terms of a little bit of comparison, they had a Women of Honor match from 2 weeks ago. It was Chris Wolf and Sumi Sakai versus Deonna Purrazzo and Mandy Leon. That was 12,000 views, right? The same week, they put up a throwback of CM Punk versus Jimmy Rave versus Christopher Daniels versus Frankie Kazarian, and that got 6,000 views. So, considering that that's, some pretty...
You said they got how many views on one of them?
So, the two weeks ago...
See, so, it's really strange that... It's really weird. Because I'm looking at it with you now, and I wonder how many people are just flat-out perverts. Because there's 27,000 views on a women's match, and then Samoa Joe versus Tyler Black gets 12,000?
I will say that the Women of Honor Twitter...
Solo Darling versus Kelly Klein, 2 million views.
Yeah. I mean...
they're their most popular uploads. The top 3 are Women of Honor. And then the next one is El Generico versus Kevin Steen in the Ladder War. See, there's something... I don't really know what to say to that other than, there's a lot more perverts out there than we realize.
Well, I think also, some credit has to be given to the Women of Honor social media and how they've been pushing Women of Honor Wednesdays. That's been a consistent thing.
An extra million people care more about Solo Darling versus Kelly Klein than a crazy El Generico Kevin Steen ladder war. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. I do, but I think that some of this speaks to the fact that it should definitely be something that's on more consistently, and part of the problem is...
Completely agree with that.
If you don't have the women consistently with the company, right? Because now, for example, from last year, there was a very popular match, I believe it was last year, on the Women of Honor VOD that had Hanaya the Huntress. She had her and Mandy had been having a kind of a back and forth, so that was pretty big. You had, Taylor Hendricks, who was a big part of Women of Honor. You had Solo Darling, who was there pretty often. So now all of them are gone. All right, Purrazzo comes in, and she's still been one of the most consistent in the division. Klein had kind of disappeared for a little bit, and now a number of them are going to Stardom this fall. I know that Mandy Leon and Klein are going, so that's 2 of their top stars away for a bit. So you figure they might not have them featured at least until towards the end of the year on pay-per-views. So it's kind of the same thing with 205 Live. When you don't position the talent in a place where the fans are going to be very enthusiastic throughout the match, it becomes a little bit more difficult to make it popular. But judging by the YouTube numbers, sometimes I might be wrong.
That's what I was just going to say.
I don't know.
They do not do a good job of promoting the Women of Honor as well as they should. Yet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the top 10 videos are Women of Honor. And the 4 that are with it is Generico Steen, Danielson Black, CM Punk, AJ Styles. This is incredible. I'm so intrigued as to how these, and I don't want anyone to misconstrue this as any type of disrespect to the women wrestlers, because it is not. I just do not understand how that video has 2.2 million views and matches between some of the most popular male stars of the past 10, 15, 20 years have half or a quarter. That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, it's really insane. So hopefully they are going to capitalize this going forward, because I think it'll make the product a lot stronger. I
wonder, if that'll have any type of negative effect on the YouTube views. I saw them on the show or the pay-per-view. I don't need to go out of my way to watch them on YouTube.
I think the people who watch it on YouTube will consistently watch it on YouTube. No, but I mean, I think that also means, for example, no, but think about it this way. I'm
just trying to think in my head, how many people are out there. Like, oh shit, Women of Honor, I got to go watch that tonight. Sorry, I can't come out. I'm really, really curious.
Well, it gets released
Obviously a lot.
on Wednesday, like afternoons or Wednesday mornings, right? So I think a lot of people are like watching it on their phones. I'm somebody who wants to watch something on my TV or on a larger screen. So I'm generally not gonna sit and watch it on my phone. And sometimes when I get home, it might slip my mind to then watch it when I get back. Whereas I don't. A lot of times I find myself catching up on it. Like I'll catch up on the last 2 or 3.
Right.
Where I'm not really glued to it weekly. So I don't think it changes who watches it on YouTube.
You're probably right, because people are freaks.
All right. I guess the last thing we'll get into, I'll just briefly mention, you guys should definitely go over to Tier 1 Wrestling YouTube and check out some of the latest uploads there, where I'm doing some backstage promos there. I had a good time. Got tossed around a little bit, so you'll catch that in one of those. But definitely had a good time with the guys backstage, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. It's just kind of pretty crazy altogether to be able to be able to participate and not just analyze. So now you guys can go check it out and analyze me. Maybe you can start your own podcast on Rich's terrible backstage presence. But no, good times altogether. So, am I leaving anything out this week?
No, that's it. I'm a little behind watching the G1 these past couple of days, so I'll catch up on that, and we'll talk more about that next week when it's closer to an end result.
All right, sounds good. So, with all that, I just want to remind you guys, check us out on Twitter at RunningWildLWOS. You can go to our website, runningwildpodcast.com. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere where you get your... and SoundCloud, anywhere where you get your podcasts normally. Make sure you guys leave us a review. Those really help out. And retweet if you're following us on Twitter. Share those episodes around with your friends. That definitely helps out as well. You can follow my work over at pwponderings.com and rohworld.com, where I cover ROH pretty exclusively. And you can follow me on Twitter at Rich_Laconi, where I'm participating in Project Rewatch SummerSlam. I'm falling behind, but I'm about up to to SummerSlam 1993 when I'm not watching CMLL. So it's been kind of difficult, but you should definitely go check that out. So before I anger my co-host anymore, I just want to say that remind you guys that you've been listening to the podcast that is just too